Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Vidya, or Vidno, depending on which side of the spectrum you're on. Today I've got a little story time video for you guys. This is more of a chill story, just, kick back, smoke a blunt. But I figured instead of making this one giant story, I'd split it into two parts. So back in 2020, near the end of 2020, I did my first 5 gram dose of mushrooms. And they were the penis envy strain. Now, this is going to be the backstory on me finding the mushrooms and everything that went down that night. I feel like that was a pretty eventful night. It's not the night I took the mushrooms, so that video will be coming soon. But hey, you guys got to help me run up the numbers a little bit. You know what I'm saying? If you haven't seen my LSD plus DMT storytime video, highly recommend checking that out. That was actually recorded a year ago, and it took place about 2.5 years ago. So I know in the video I said it took place about a year and a half ago, but that's because I recorded the video over a year ago. Alrighty, so let's take a step back in time, just a brief step. We're not going too far back. This happened back in 2020. Now, I believe it was August of 2020. We're near the end of summertime. You know, we got those warm August nights. We got the vibes. We're chilling. So, one of the characters in this story, and believe me, he's gonna have a series of his own videos. This guy, look, I love this fool. We're gonna call him Austin. Great guy. You know, some very interesting stuff went down in the short time I knew this guy. So, really grateful for him either way. So we're at work, right? And Austin's talking to me and he's saying, I been trying to get some mushrooms, bro. Like I got hella people that are trying to buy them. This might even be like a little business opportunity. He's telling me, we should probably, go in on this together. And I'm like, dude, say less, man. This sounds like a great idea. If you've got the people, I can get the mushrooms. Now, luckily, I live in California. And the nice thing about California is, especially at this time, we have these things called seshes. And now a sesh is primarily for cannabis, but these days things such as psilocybin and LSD have been finding their way. A sesh is a giant farmers market cannabis event. It's just booth after booth of dabs on dabs. People got the THC syrups, get the double cup. It's just a great fucking time, man. It's one of the things I love about Cali, man. It's always gonna go down in history for me. So, I had come to find out pretty recently, before me and Austin are talking about, getting the mushrooms, I had found out that you can actually buy mushrooms now at seshes. Somebody had told me they just went to a sesh and they're like, dude, there was mushrooms on one table, there was acid on another table. I'm like, holy shit, say less. So, you know, um, the time comes and I finally get off work. I don't really remember much of the rest of that day at work, right? Because I'm just thinking about getting the mushrooms. I'm like, oh, this is going to be perfect. Get a little extra cash. You know what I mean? It's going to work out for everybody. So, and another thing about these sessions too, you can't really just walk in. Usually you got to get the address. So I messaged the guy on Instagram and I was like, yo, if you can send me that Addy, that would be dope, much appreciated. And before I even got off work, I got that address. You know what I mean? So I was ready to go. I'm golden. I'm feeling great. I'm ready for a hoot and a holler. You know, nothing can go wrong at this point. And I was feeling really good. So I went home, kind of did my typical thing, you know, smoked a little weed, got high, chilled out, and I was waiting for the sesh. Now, the sesh was approximately an hour away. I had to drive pretty deep into Sac, and it was deep. I'm north of Sac, so that's about all I'm gonna say. But I make that trip, and it's about an hour drive. I go, I hop in my car, everything's all fine and dandy, right? I'm making my way, playing some tunes, just thinking about the sesh, getting excited, getting nervous, right? Because I'm like, ooh, what am I gonna find? And so, you know, the GPS tells me I've arrived, and you always kind of know you've arrived, right? It's always like a string of business parks, right? It's these not abandoned, but they try to keep it low key, right? Because I mean, it's not. It's that gray area. It's that classic Cali gray area that we all know and love. Um, So, I pull up and immediately, right, this place is popping. It's not the most poppin' sesh I've ever been to. I'll share that as a separate story. But there was a sesh I went to a couple years before this, which, man, dude, it was fucking bussin'. Like, when we left, there was still a line like 2 miles long to get inside the building. And we left at like 1 in the morning. So, crazy, crazy story. If you want to hear about that, definitely smash the like button. But either way, wow, is that the first time I've ever said that in a video? That sounded weird. But either way, right? So I get to the sesh and I can totally, I know I'm here, right? Because there's people, you just know. It's like, all right, let's go. So I park up, right? And I'm feeling like, damn, my car could probably get robbed here, but you know, it's worth it. It's worth the journey. Um, yeah, fuck it. So I park up and I kind of follow the flow of people. That's really the best thing to do. You just follow the people, and we make a few twists and turns, and we get down to the lower key section. I know this whole area is low key, but trust me, they do it right. So I get up, I get to the entrance, and it's like, oh, $10 to get in, whatever, no big deal. I pay my $10 and I'm in. And I'm already, you know, straight away, they got food, they're cooking food. They've got, like I said, they got the classic THC cups. They got, just dabs on dabs, not mushrooms. They got weed. Just every table is just gas after gas after gas. And I wasn't really there to get high, right? Because part of the plan I hadn't mentioned was that after I get these mushrooms, I'm gonna go meet up at Austin's house, and he's got a little kickback going, right? So he told me there's gonna be a bit of people there, and everybody's gonna be buying mushrooms from me, so definitely get an ounce. So that's what I did. I had $200 on me, and I was in the market for an ounce. I get to the first table of mushrooms, which was pretty quick. It only took me like 3 tables, and then I'm like, boom, here's some mushrooms. And I remember I told the guy, I was like, you're the reason why I'm here, thinking that like, I don't know. I just thought, oh, this is the mushroom guy. I don't know why. I wanted him to be the mushroom guy, but kind of eyeing his mushrooms, I was like, well, these don't look bad, right? But they don't look like anything crazy. I'm really looking for the top shelf here, the gas lotto. And so, I'm like, all right, man, well, I'll be back. He had an ounce going for 160, which 160 for an ounce isn't too bad, especially when you're getting, good quality and you're only buying 1 ounce. So I'm like, okay, 160, that's not bad. Maybe I can get, an ounce and maybe like a quarter, you know, try to negotiate a little. Well, I keep going and I get to the second table of mushrooms. And without a doubt, my heart, I knew in my heart this was it, right? Like the first guy, I said it to him, right? I was like, "You're the guy." Just hands up in the air, "You're the guy." And he looked at me like, "What are you talking about?" But I got to the second booth, right? And I didn't even have to speak. I didn't have to say anything. I just knew these were the mushrooms. She was selling penis envies and albinos. Now, this lady that was covering, she was covering for a man who goes by Love Light Awakening. Um, so these were not her mushrooms, right? But the energy of the whole thing, right? I was like, well, she must be a close friend because that's what she began to explain is, um, yeah, Love Light, he couldn't be here this weekend. I believe he's a shaman, so he was doing a ceremony or something. But either way, she said, I'm here, so um, I was like, wow, I really wanted to meet the person that grew the mushrooms. I still haven't met Love Light to this day. I hope one day to meet him. I'm looking at these mushrooms, right? She's got the albinos and she's got the penis envies. Now, I didn't know a ton about albinos. I had taken them before, and I had never taken the penis envies. And I've heard about the penis envies, right? Because those are Terence McKenna's mushrooms. So I'm starting to get really excited. I'm feeling like I hit the jackpot. These mushrooms, I'll put a picture on screen. These mushrooms were so dense and thick. Before this, all my life, I was really just used to getting mushrooms that, kind of looked like it's just that typical little, dusty bag of stems and a couple caps. No, these were mushrooms. These were fresh, ready to be, just experienced. And I could feel that. And I was like, wow, man. And I'm looking at the price, and she wanted 200 for an ounce. It only looked like she had 2 ounces left, and I only had $200. So I was like, well, let me get an ounce. And she's weighing me out the ounce. I'm watching her, and I say, is there any way you can do any less? I drove over an hour to get here. If you could take off $20, that would really help me out. She said, I can't. I'm covering for Love Light, and I just have to stick to that price. I was like, honestly, don't even trip, because I'd pay more for these. Probably shouldn't have said that, but I was like, I would really pay more money for these if I had to, because this is unlike anything I've ever seen. I've never grown mushrooms. I've never known anybody who's a mycologist at this point. So I'm just, this is a whole new world to me. And I get my ounce and, I scurry away. I didn't mention that after we had to exchange some words and I was talking to her about the mushrooms, I did leave and go check out one more table. But like the whole time I was like, I already know, dude. It's the penis envies. There's nothing else here that I'm supposed to take home. So after I've got my mushrooms weighed, I've got them in my. I believe I brought a bag or no, I brought a jar with me. That's right. I brought a jar, and that helped because she didn't have anything to put an ounce of mushrooms in for me. And I noticed while I was leaving, right, there was a guy, must have been his girlfriend, I don't know. Could have been just his friend, doesn't really matter. But there was these two kids there, but they looked like, I mean, they were younger looking than me. And they bought the last ounce. I heard him as I was walking away, I said, let me get that last ounce of penis envies. And I would love to have a conversation with that guy or girl or anybody that took those mushrooms. Maybe they were just there to buy them and sell them. I would love to. I would love to talk to anybody. I mean, it's not like those mushrooms or oh, but it just the experience I had was absolutely unlike anything else I've experienced, and I don't know. It's just it's a hoot and a holler. So if you want that story, just it's coming, it's coming. Just one step at a time here. But so now I've got these mushrooms, right, and I'm on my way home. I'm on my way back to Austin's house. I hit him up and I'm like, yo, I'm so excited. I'm like, dude, I got these mushrooms. Like, I'll see you soon, man. And I pull up at his house and I'd never been there before. Austin was a newer friend at the time, and we weren't friends for a super long time. After this, nothing bad ever happened. It was just a short, those friendships where it's just like, oh, you're just tight with somebody for a little bit and then you just don't really talk to them anymore. That's just how this was. So I pull up, right? I'm expecting a kickback. He told me there's gonna be some heads here. And I don't have any weed or anything on me, but I've got the mushrooms. I'm like, I'm the mushroom guy tonight. I wasn't even concerned with other drugs. These mushrooms were my whole world at this moment. So I get in and I see Austin, I see a couple other fools from my work, and I dap them up. I'm like, yo, what's up, guys? We're all, we got the 2K playing. We got 2K on the screen on the Xbox. People are kicked back. People are already smoking and drinking. Austin's telling me to go grab a White Claw. He's like, hey, bro, I got some wax. You want to come take a dab? So I'm feeling good. I'm like, all right, this is a good start to the party. I'm unwinding after that journey of getting the mushrooms. And I'm like, before I even take my dab, I crack my claw. I'm taking a couple sips. I'm like, all right, let's start feeling good here. But I'm ready to show these mushrooms. And it's at this point, it's Austin, his girlfriend, and three other people. So not a lot of people, right? More people showed up later, but when I got there, it was just the five of us, really, or the six of us. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody else that might have been there. But either way, right? So I'm pulling him out. I put him on the table. And I remember his girlfriend's reaction was probably the best because she was kind of genuinely freaked out. She was like, oh, I don't even know if I want to eat those. And I was like, nah, trust me, this is what you want. You can see the love. It's bursting with love. Austin's all over it, right? He's like, dude, let me just get some off you right now and I'll pay you back later. And I'm like, I don't have a scale on me. I'm really like trying to figure out another way. I'm like, well, dude, there's got to be a way we can get a scale, or let me go get my scale, right? Because I want to do this right. Let's just not create any unnecessary conflict. It's Austin's party, so I'm like, you know what, bro? Let's just go ahead. Take whatever you want, and then I'll weigh it when I get home, and you can pay me back later. Terrible idea. But we're not there yet. So Austin grabs his mushrooms, right? He grabs a couple fatties. I'm like, bro, you're paying me for those. You know that, right? He's like, oh, I got you, man. This guy's already doing blow. He's drinking. He's pounding White Claws. He's been smoking. He's trying to get fucked up. And like I said, he only grabbed 3 mushrooms from me, and he takes the 2 biggest ones, right? And he just starts gnawing on them. Like, I remember this, right? Because we're all just kind of sitting at the table, like nobody's, he's trying to get as fucked up as humanly possible, right? And we're all just kind of just, I'm on my first White Claw, right? So I'm not anywhere near his level, and I have work early in the morning. So my plan was just to sell some mushrooms, get home, and, not get too fucked up so I could go to work tomorrow, right? Well, he's already on the blow cane. He's already, like I said, he's already drinking, and he's acting crazy. He's eating these mushrooms like they're McDonald's ice cream cones. He's just going in one at a time, alternating hands until they're gone. And I'm just watching this man in astonishment because I'm like, he ate at least 5 grams right there. Actually, it turned out he ate about 7 grams. But we still don't know that, right? So um, more people start showing up. Another group comes up. It's only like 3 or 4 heads more, but another group shows up. And at this point, I'm like, well, let me go take a dab. I don't know any of these people. I only know Austin and a couple people from work. So it's like, I don't know a ton of people. They seem cool, right? But you know, I'm just like, well, let me get a dab in me and we'll be mingling. So I take my dab, and immediately Austin's like, oh, yo, you guys gotta check out these mushrooms, right? Because apparently these were the people that were gonna buy all my mushrooms. And they're looking them up, they're checking them out. They're like, oh, well, these were like the big ballers of the group. You know what I'm saying? They're, you know, the classic. We got the classic Jordans and baggy pants and fresh cut. We got the I don't know what I'm trying. I'm not stereotyping people here, but what it is they just had that hustler vibe, right? And they immediately were like, yeah, well, I could sell you a pound for 600. And I was like, okay, but I thought you guys were gonna buy mushrooms. Like, this fool Austin's telling me you guys just eat them left and right. You guys can't get enough of these shits, right? And nobody there is interested in buying any mushrooms from me. So I'm like, wow, this, I mean, it was fun, but more at this point, I'm not even concerned with selling them. I'm more concerned with the fact that Austin just ate 7 grams and he's already geeked out of his mind. We're playing some 2K and everybody's just kind of talking, and we decide to go outside. Everybody's sitting around. Austin's kind of in the middle of everybody in this lawn chair, and everybody's just kind of formed a circle around him. And he's just saying some kind of crazy shit at this point. I'm like, okay, he's in the come up phase because he's not really making any coherent sense, but like he's experiencing a lot of shit. And we had like a very brief conversation. I remember I showed him some of my fractals because I had just started making fractals. So I was like, hey, you might like this while you're tripping. And he was like, oh my god, that's crazy. And he thought it was pretty cool, whatever. We're chatting. Not much else happens at this point. I would say another hour or two goes by, and it's from the outside looking in, it seemed like Austin never really, you know, had much more of an experience than that. Because he kind of kept chatting, there was like that brief hour, like I said, where he was just kind of completely uttering nonsense. But as the night progressed, it really seemed that he wasn't tripping like I thought he'd be. Like, I thought he'd be in the fetal position. I really was expecting, that's why I stayed for so long, is I was like, you're going to be completely, I don't know, you're fucked. There's no way you just ate 7 grams right in front of me. And you're, like, you know, it wasn't that I didn't, like, think he could or anything. It just was so astonishing to me because, Terence Mckenna really talked up the 5 grams, and I didn't know anybody who had eaten that many mushrooms at one time, where I'd seen it go down the hatch, and they didn't vomit, nothing. He just seemed to, it seemed like he had this brief moment of inner work, and then it just all kind of, he just blended back into the party. I'm not really sure. It still doesn't make a lot of sense to me because even after I left, people hung around with him. And one of the other fools that was there that I'm good homies with too, he's like, yeah, man, we were just doing blow the rest of the night, just like looking at the stars and shit, just, just drinking, just getting fucked up. And I'm like, is he not a human being? Like, how did he do that? It seemed to not phase him. And whenever I think of people not being phased by psychedelics, I always think of that story of Maharaji on the hill when Ram Dass gives him all that LSD, and he waits around, and nothing happens. So I believe that moment is what pushed me to even further curiosity about the 5 gram dose, because I knew that's why I was getting those mushrooms, but seeing him eat so many really solidified for me that I would be able to do it no problem. I had done 4 grams of mushrooms before. I had done 3.5. Um, I'd eaten like 6 to 8 mushrooms over the course of a day, or grams over the course of a day, but never done the 5 grams on the empty stomach in silent meditative darkness. I had never done that before. And maybe that's why he didn't have a ton of it. But I still don't even believe that, right? You could say, well, maybe it's because he wasn't in the silent darkness. No, that shouldn't matter at that point. The silent darkness is just for comfort. It's the same reason why it's nice to sail a boat in clear waters. It's just that. But I got home and I was extremely curious. I was like, because my bag looked really light after that. I was like, there's no way, dude. And I weighed him, and it was 10 grams short. So I really believe he ate at least 7. Because, like I said, he grabbed 3 mushrooms from me and ate the biggest 2. The third one was much smaller. It wasn't anything compared to those 2 dense guys. They took up most of the weight. And those were the 2 biggest mushrooms I had. So maybe it wasn't quite 7 grams. Maybe it was more like 5 grams. But still, to see somebody do all that right there and be, damn near unfazed, it was so interesting. But yeah, this is more of a chill story, just something, like I said, to kick back, smoke a blunt to, you know, just if you're bored or something. I don't know. The taking the mushrooms was definitely the wild part of the ride, but in my opinion, crazy isn't always better. And this is just a classic story that I'm always gonna remember. I did actually before making this video, I messaged the lady on Instagram who was covering for Love Light Awakening, and I asked her, I said, is there any chance that those were not penis envy mushrooms? Because I really want to know if those were the penis envies. And she said yes, that's all that Love Light was growing at the time were albinos and the penis envies. But when I took the penis envies, and we'll get to that, right? For some reason, they were speaking to me. Well, they kept telling me they were teachers, but and so that's why I kept thinking, well, maybe they're golden teachers, because they actually look more like golden teachers than penis envies. If you go back and pause the video where I posted the picture, please, if anybody out there can confirm this for me, because maybe they're not penis envies, maybe they're not Terence from Terence Mckenna's cultivation, but she was so sure that all he was growing right then was albinos and penis envies. Maybe they were a cross, but they just don't look like the typical penis envies. But man, were they strong. And apparently penis envies are the most potent psilocybe cubensis. So I know there's only one strain more potent, which is like the Aztecas, or I don't know how you even say it. I'm probably, they're more potent than the penis MVs because they're not a psilocybe cubensis. I don't know. End of the story time rambles, you know what I mean? But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the journey. All right, it's been Vidya. Peace.